Welcome to my video lesson on cutting tools. My name once again, Olaniwaju Julius. Just like I said in the last lesson, there are classes of tools in the workshop, especially fitting workshop. The first classification, we did mention marking tools. We have equally discussed measuring tools. In this lesson, we shall be looking at cutting tools. We shall equally be looking at holding tools. And of course, we won't leave out striking tool and then cutting tools. All these classes of tools, we are going to be discussing them in this lesson. Then what are cutting tools? Cutting tools are simple tools that are not power tools that we use in the workshop in order to cut metal or any material in order to get a particular shape that is desired. And what are these tools that we make use of? They fall into different types. We have files, the common file, hand file, that we can use to remove metal from a surface, to chisel, to drill, that we can equally use to generate or originate a hole from a workpiece. And of course, we have hacksaw, and we equally have reamers and taps. I will begin to take them one after the other. Under the cutting tool, we have the file, we have the scraper, we have the hacksaw, and there are equally drills and reamers. Let's take, for example, the file. As you can see from my screen, a file is a simple piece that could be used to actually remove small portion of metal from the surface of that workpiece. And how do we achieve this? A file is made up of a handle and the body. And on the body, we have the edge, which is the tip of the file here. Then we have the cutting point as highlighted. We equally have faces on the file. The face could be a safe face or a face with cut marks. We equally have the heel. The heel is nearest to the handle. And there is the tongue, the length of this portion that enters the handle is the tongue. There is a portion on the file that is called safe edge, especially in a hand file. A file that is having this rectangular cross section. There is a safe edge, a face that doesn't have any mark at all. That is the portion that is called the safe edge. Files are widely used for cutting tool, for cutting workpiece. They are widely used to cut workpiece because of their hardened nature. They are made of high-grade steel, and there are slant rows of teeth, which could either cross or remain single. They are classified based on the type or the type of cut teeth that is available on the file. But the different types of files that are available is based on the cross-section of that particular file. If the file is flat, we refer to that file as flat file. If the cross-section is square, we refer to that file as square file. If the cross-section is triangular, we refer to that file as triangular file. And if the cross-section is round, the file is referred to as round file. There are other classes of files that are for intricate jobs. Those files are called mill files or rasp file because they are for intricate jobs where the bigger files will not be able to enter those small pieces of file that have the same configuration with the bigger files. There is a round, there is a triangular, there is a square, there is a flat file, but of a smaller sizes. These files will be discussed in detail by the time we are looking at filing techniques in another lesson. But for the purpose of this lesson, I'm only trying to highlight the types of cutting tools that are available. Equally of importance to note is the scrapers. Scrapers are equally cutting tools. Why are they very important? Scrapers are very important because in some instances whereby we have some high points on some workpiece that have been produced, either weld spatters or high points on some metals, those high points needed to be scraped off. And this is where scrapers come into play. Scrapers could be used to remove high points on metal, high points that are not needed. They are undesirable. So scrapers could be used to remove them. As you can see on my screen, you have different types of scrapers that are available. We have flat scrapers because the configuration is flat. We have hook scraper. And of course, there is triangular scraper and half-round scrapers. All of them perform the same function of removing eye spots, unwanted and undesirable spots on a workpiece. We can use them to remove them. And another important tool that falls under the category of cutting tool is the chisel. Chisel is a common tool in the workshop. We use chisel to cut some metal piece. We can use chisel to actually chisel out some unwanted portion in the material. And of course, chisel equally has different types. The different types of chisel will be further discussed in another lesson where we'll be talking generally or in a broader perspective, chiseling techniques and the different types of chisels that are available. Another cutting tool that is of importance to note here is the drill. The drill is a simple cutting tool that is used to actually generate or create hole in a workpiece. By virtue of its spiral configuration, the drill can drive in through the help of a drilling machine into the workpiece, removing the metal that is being drilled out of the workpiece, thereby creating the intended hole. As you can see from the screen, a typical example of twist drill is available here. Twist in the sense that the body that is actually carrying out the drilling is twisted. And this portion is referred to as a flute. And as the drill is being driven into the workpiece, the cut chips are passing through these flutes out of the workpiece to the outside. Another important cutting tool that is of importance to this lesson is the tap. There is occasion whereby one will need to create thread in existing hole. One can create a thread for the purpose of screwing or putting bolt and nut. Existing hole could be tapped by way of making use of tap. Tap are devices or tools that are used to create internal thread in an existing hole. And they come in 3 sets. The very first one is called the taper tap, followed by the plug tap, and the final one is bottomy tap, as you can see from the screen. The 3 sets must be used in order to actually actualize the threading of an existing hole. This will be discussed in detail by the time I'll be taking you through tapping as a process. Tapping as a process. Another cutting tool that is of importance is the hacksaw. Hacksaw is very common and is very versatile in the workshop. We use hacksaw to cut different material, ranging from metal to plastic to wood. And hacksaw is very easy to use. As you can see from the screen, the simple device has a handle with a frame, the blade installed, and the wing nuts at the other end to actually create or add tension to the installed blade. The essence of the tension is to actually give the required strength to the blade for it to actually drive through the cut piece. All these are the important cutting tools that are readily available in any workshop. Another class of tool that is of importance to this session is the holding tool. Every piece that is to be worked upon must be firmly secured in a holding device. One cannot hold a workpiece in the hand and begin to work upon it. We need a device that will guarantee that firmness that is desired. And the firmness that is desired can only be provided by holding tools. A very common example of holding tool is the vise, the bench vise. As you can see from my screen, a bench vise is firmly secured to the bench. It has a movable jaw and a fixed jaw. There is a handle that could be turned that will move in and out this movable jaw, while the work will be securely clamped in between the two jaws, and the handle is properly tightened